At 58, as you know, I wound up losing everything. 58, and I come from a family of overachievers. My younger brother is a vascular surgeon. My sister's a Yale doctor, married to a Yale doctor. And at 58, Chase, the unthinkable happened. I wound up going bankrupt. I lost everything I had to my name. I think people thought I actually lost my mind in the process. And you sometimes come to that point in life that you question whether or not you have any belief left in yourself. But the one thing, as you just alluded to, Jeff, that I never lost sight of is that I was a single father of the most incredible son in the world. And I lost everything at the exact time that he got into Syracuse University.
Welcome to the Jeff Sutherlin Show. Let's grow today as we learn from decades of real estate and leadership experience.
We want you to know that when you log into this show, you're going to get authentic conversation. We're going to give it to you straight, and it's going to be real. Hey, everybody, this is Jeff Sutherlin on the Jeff Sutherlin Show. Today, we have a very special guest. His name's Eric Orland. This guy's a baller. And of course, I have my co-host, Chase. And before we get started with Eric, I just want to tell everybody, I just got back from an amazing conference in Cabo, and it was called One Big Fire. I got to listen to people like Ed Milet, Gary Brecka, Brent Gove. This thing lit my fire. I can't wait. Hopefully, maybe in this hour, I can share just a couple snippets of stuff that I brought back. But man, events are where it's at. Events are where lives are changed. And my life, again, was changed. I've been to so many conferences in my 24 years of doing this business. And I got to tell you, this one hit home the most. And I'm just so grateful that I got to go. Chase, you're crushing it lately right now. Chase, just a couple things about what's going on in the Phoenix market before we get with Eric. What's going on in your world, man? Because you're killing it.
Yeah, it's been good, man. Been working with a lot of buyers. Phoenix as a whole has kind of dipped into a buyer's market now. So a lot of the buyers have a little bit more negotiation power, which has been nice for them. So been working with a lot of buyers, staying busy. We're blessed every day. And I'm excited to be here with you and Eric, man. It's going to be a good one today.
Yeah, and in my end, I just took another listing a little bit over $1 million right next to TSMC, which is probably you could arguably say it's the most powerful company in the world. Taiwanese semiconductor company in Phoenix, $163 billion expansion in Phoenix. This thing is going berserko. It's going to fundamentally change the landscape of the Phoenix economy, and I'm excited to take a listing pretty close to that. So we got all kinds of good stuff happening in Phoenix. So now it's time to get to our guest, Eric. What a blessing this guy has been in my life. And I was so excited. I was like, I got to bring him on the show. And Eric was a former investment banker for Robertson Stevens. And so he has a financial background, and you'll see it when he speaks. He's very well-spoken, very analytical, very intelligent. And he's actually coached more than 10,000 agents in his career. So Eric's made quite an impact on a lot of agents and has coached them to high levels of success. And just like any large success story, Eric has gone through his hard times. He's gone through his trials, and today he's going to be sharing a little bit about that too. So my friend Eric, so glad to have you here on the show today.
Really good to be here with you. You know that you're one of my very favorite people. So I was actually looking forward to doing this today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric. Well, tell us a little bit about your background, man. We want to hear, tell us how you got started, where you came from, and where you're going.
So born and raised in New York, you'll be able to identify that within the first 5 minutes of me talking, right? Very direct, try to stay very much on point. So born and raised in New York, went to school at UCLA, went to California, and spent most of my adult life there. I didn't do a whole lot, Jeff, until I was 30, to be honest with you. I graduated as a Bruin and then spent most of my 20s playing beach volleyball, living in Hermosa Beach. And by accident, I got into residential real estate. I didn't know what I was going to do at 30. I was about to get married. And my soon-to-be mother-in-law said to me, hey, Eric, I think it's about time you lost the flip-flops and get a job. And she said, have you ever considered residential real estate? And I go, residential real estate? I said, isn't that for women? And she says, I beg your pardon. She said, there are two people here in Santa Clarita, which is about 50 miles north of Los Angeles, that make over $1 million a year. And they're both guys about your age. You may want to consider or reconsider your way of thinking. So I got into residential real estate, and I absolutely slaughtered it. My second year, I was top 15 in the state of California for RE/MAX. I absolutely killed it. And then, as life would have it, my wife was moving to Washington, D.C. to work for the Clinton administration. And her sister was the first woman and the youngest press secretary, Bill Clinton's press secretary. So I moved back to Washington, D.C. And what I really recognized quickly, Jeff, is how much I enjoyed sharing with other people my success for two reasons. One, when you tell somebody that you're doing something, it almost holds your feet to the fire. You have to continue doing it or you lose all credibility. Secondly, I've always believed the more you give, the more you receive. So I just gave and gave and gave and poured into others. And I love coaching and teaching and training, and did that for a while, and until I was in investment banking, which quite honestly I did not love. It was much less personal, it was all numbers driven. And after a few years in investment banking, I went back to what I loved most, and that was residential real estate, where I coached thousands and thousands and thousands of realtors around the country. And then you want me to get into my trials and tribulations or take a breath here?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to, this is good stuff. One thing you said really hit me because I was coaching a big group of agents this morning. I said, people are either motivated by reward or consequence. I said, if you want to be be a champion, you should set a 90-day goal with a deadline and put a big reward on that when you hit the goal that gives you great joy, or you make a consequence that gives you great pain. Because people are either pushed by either one, right? But here's the kicker. I said, in order to go to a totally another level of success, you need to make promises to people that you love. So when you hit that goal, you're going to give them X, or you're going to do this for them. And when you make it not about you, and you make a promise to a loved one that you love dearly, you're going to work that much harder. You'll move heaven and earth to get to that goal. You know what I'm saying? So you're talking about making covenants with other people, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, you are so dead on. Because, at 58, I wound up losing everything. At 58, and I come from a family of overachievers. My younger brother is a vascular surgeon. My sister's a Yale doctor, married to a Yale doctor. And at 58, Chase, the unthinkable happened. I wound up going bankrupt. I lost everything I had to my name. I think people thought I actually lost my mind in the process. And, you sometimes come to that point in life that you question whether or not you have any belief left in yourself. But the one thing, as you just alluded to, Jeff, that I never lost sight of is that I was a single father of the most incredible son in the world. And I lost everything at the exact time that he got into Syracuse University. So school did not come easy. And I've always said to my son, his name is Jackson, I said, Jackson, if you work hard in school, I will send you to whatever college you get into. Well, Jackson worked hard and got into Syracuse University, which is about $80,000 plus a year. And I remember, Jeff, I had to look at him with tears rolling down my face and saying, Jackson, I love you more than life. But I didn't know how he was going to put a roof over my head or put food on the table. And it was heart-wrenching. But I made a solemn vow to myself. I made a promise that I would absolutely turn it around within a year, that I would dust myself off, get back up on the horse, and that I would show my child, I would mirror for him what success, determination, commitment, not with those words, not what he thinks, but I would illustrate for him, what that looks like. And I've been very fortunate, in 5 years at EXP, as you know, I have an organization of almost 3,000 people. Last year, I was number one in terms of year-over-year growth at any of the alphas. My business was up 22% year-over-year. So when my life looked darkest or at the most bleak time of all time possible, what I did is I embraced this incredible platform that we have with EXP. And I thought, for a $64 application fee, I have the unique ability to build generational wealth. And I was not going to let that opportunity squander. I was going to show myself and show my son that I could rebuild and do so at a later stage in my life. When I was looking, really thinking about exiting, I would have thought about, this was the latter part of my career, obviously, that in 5 years I built a mini empire, I guess. So.
That's amazing, Eric. And when you're going through a time like that where things are dark, right? It's easy to stay positive when things are going good and thinking about, just staying in a positive mindset when things are going good. But then when the absolute worst happens, how does somebody keep it in their mind to try to stay focused and stay moving forward and keep that belief in themselves, right? You mentioned sometimes you have these times in your life where you're like, man, the belief in yourself might not even be there, right? How do you keep circling back and making sure that you're on the right track and you keep moving forward even when you get slammed with something like that?
So three things. Chase, that's a great question. That is a great question. So for me, it was always three things that I came back to. Number one is always having a sense of gratitude for the things that were working in my life. Not taking anything for granted, being in great health, having a wonderful son, being in a good relationship, whatever it was, holding on to that gratitude, living in a beautiful place, having people like Jeff in my life, really honoring the things that I'm grateful for in my life. Number two is realizing that what I think about is going to manifest itself in my life. What I think about is going to manifest itself in my life. So if I think negative, I think poverty, I never saw myself that way. There were hard days, but I always held a belief that I'd get back up on that horse and cross that damn finish line. So I was really, really clear about that. And then, so it's gratitude. It is, it's manifesting. And then it's like, as Jeff eloquently put before, it's about sometimes putting somebody bigger than yourself more meaningful, that I would absolutely not allow myself to in any way waver in terms of my son's impression of me, that I would illustrate for him what a winner's character looks like. And I never lost sight of that, ever, 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 ever. And I, each and every day, came to work with the mindset that I was running a professional business. It wasn't a hobby. It wasn't something I was doing as an afterthought. That each and every day I came ready to engage in the most professional way possible.
Yeah, that's great. And when you talk about gratitude too, right? I mean, putting it into perspective, you being grateful for like some things that we a lot of times take for granted, right? The health, having a roof over our head, these types of things, right? If you put it into perspective for, it could always be worse, right? I mean, there's people fighting for their lives in a hospital bed, right? That don't have the health, that wish they could have the opportunity that we have. And when you kind of put that into perspective, right? Everything else doesn't seem quite as bad. And it looks, yeah.
The gratitude thing is such a big deal. In fact, one of the things that Ed was talking about from stage, this gut punched me. I mean, he basically shared how his father died of COVID, like literally almost the same month my father died of COVID in 2020. Mm-hmm. And he showed pictures of his relationship with his father. And that's one of the things that motivates him to this day. And I literally had tears running down my face. I almost had to leave the auditorium because I was like, I wanted to just sob, but it was a good release for me. It was a freeing release. But one of the other things he talked about is your ancestors. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know my great grandparents. I knew my grandparents, but think about all the generations before us that worked so hard to help pave the way so we could have opportunities in our lives. And so it's not just about the people that are here, it's about the people that paved the way for us. And so, I played that clip from Private Ryan today in this meeting about when Tom Hanks says, earn this, right? Mm. And it makes you think about it every day, am I earning it? Because people have given me so much, too much is given, much is expected. And am I earning this on a daily basis?
Love it.
Yeah. And when you were talking about just going to battle every day, right? Using the platform and just showing up like, hey, it's not a hobby, right? And your back was up against the wall, right? And if we can figure out a way to think like that without needing to be in that situation, you know what I mean? If we could think like, hey, my back's up against the wall, I'm coming in every single day to win, to dominate, I think we'd get a lot further.
I want to piggyback what you're talking about because it really resonates for me. It really, really, really resonates for me. I don't think any one of the three of us would ever walk over to a hot stove and put our hand on the stove and burn the heck out of ourselves. We wouldn't intentionally hurt, right? When somebody's down and out, right, there's one or two things are going to happen. You're going to fight, and you're going to fight like hell, or you're going to flight. And I've always believed that laying in bed at night and thinking about how you're going to pay your bills, questioning your level of professionalism, asking yourself those negative questions. Are you good at what you do? Are you living life to the fullest? I believe that asking those questions are so disempowering and it takes up so much headspace that for me, it's simpler to get up in the morning and do the things that I know that are necessary to be done to have the results that I want, that I need, and that I desire. And that's non-negotiable. Taking action each and every day in an effort to build my business is a lot less challenging or difficult than laying in bed at night and putting myself through that mental game of, that mental warfare, if you will.
Choose your hard, right? Choose your hard. Which is harder? It's living that scarcity poverty lifestyle is a lot harder than just going to work every day. Like talk a little bit more, Eric, about the platform itself and EXP, and why are you so invested in this company, and why is it different, and where do you see it going? Because this, to me, you said is the greatest opportunity in this industry, which I 100% agree with. Why is it such an opportunity?
I was so poor. I was on a third date with my girlfriend, Jeff. And I was so poor at the time. I remember looking at her and saying, "Hey, Irene, I know this is going to sound a little awkward." I said, "I'm absolutely broke." I said, "Could you find it in your heart to loan me $5,000? Right? And I remember thinking, I said to her, "I'm a good bet." And I remember I was just getting into EXP at that time. And I thought to myself, here I am, poor, right? Not poor in my heart and not poor in my mind, but financially at that point in time. And I knew that EXP with a $64 application fee, I was able to approach another realtor in the purest manner possible by challenging that realtor to be open-minded to an opportunity that will allow them to keep more of their commissions by having a cap in place, to have ownership in the brokerage firm that they're affiliated with, that equity that's never even been heard of before, to get lead flow where I'm surrounded by the best agents on the planet, pushing me to be the best professional versions of ourselves. And lastly, we're a company where this genius that created this model, Glenn Sanford, our founder, decided that, I'm going to follow the wave of society. People are moving away from brick and mortar and physical establishments, and I'm going to be the first real estate company. And instead of dumping money into an office and paying for all of that crazy overhead, Jeff, the company is going to give back half of their revenues for people simply doing the following: introducing other agents to EXP and help the company grow and build. Let this marinate for a second, how powerful this is. 5 years later, this year, do you guys know how much money EXP gave back to the realtors in the form of sharing revenue?
Tell us.
$200 million. $200 million. And I saw an opportunity where in a $64 application fee, I could build generational wealth, restore my self-image, and provide for myself and those I love in a manner that I never dreamed possible before. And I often pinch myself when Jess and Eric talk about where the industry is going or where EXP is going. EXP has such a head start. We are miles and miles and miles in front of any of our what we call copycat models or bootleggers. I mean, EXP is not only the first cloud-based brokerage, but we're the only publicly traded and profitable one that is out there. Where our competitors are still trying to figure out how to launch the international market, we're in 27 countries. We have such a head start. It was really interesting. I was reading something the other day, and we just brought over our competitor's number one grower. Her name is Spring. And she said something that really caught my attention the other day. She said 99.9999999% of the agents at EXP have no idea about all of the tools and benefits that this marvelous company has to offer. And that is true. Where we're going as an industry in the same way that Blockbuster Video and Hollywood Video, not one of us are driving over there tonight to pick out our candies and our movies. We are in the comfort of our home. We're going to download a movie from Netflix or Amazon Prime. And I believe we're just scratching the surface. I think, I'm a gray-haired guy. I'm very close to the end of my career, clearly much more so than the beginning of my career. The youth of America my child's age. Jackson's going to be 24 next month. He doesn't care about going to a stuffy office. He can work out of the comfort of his home. What he cares about is maximizing his income earning potential. And for any realtor that's not wearing blinders or has their hands over their ears, they'd have to attest to the fact that multiple streams of income that EXP offers is better than one form of income, Chase. It's a no-brainer. And when I approach somebody, as you know, Jeff, I simply ask them if they're open-minded to exploring an opportunity that may allow them the opportunity to keep more of those hard-earned commissions, to make more money by having access to multiple streams of income, and receive buyer and seller leads so they can ramp up their level of production. Who wouldn't want that? And I believe as time goes on, and as more and more young people replace us old folk, you're going to see EXP continue to grow and evolve at a pace that nobody in the industry can keep up with.
Well, exactly. I feel like every time something happens in the industry, we're on the cutting edge of technology. We're the category creator. We're profitable. There's things that are coming out all the time that are keeping our agents way ahead of the competition. Case in point, Eric, you actually have spearheaded your own product in the agent attraction space to help people bring more people into the company called Attractify. Could you tell us a little bit more about that platform and how you're helping people at EXP?
Yeah, so I created Attractify with the mindset that, I wasn't going to leave my career up to chance. I wanted to have a blueprint, Jeff. I wanted to have a map, how I was going to follow the yellow brick road and lead me to a pot of gold, if you will. So I created the system, and it's very locked in terms of how do you properly communicate with somebody? How do you ask the right questions? How do you build relationship? So I created this Attractify system, and it does three things. Number one, it provides agents 10 different Zoom calls a week where we are pouring into them, coaching and training them. It could be in the form of prospecting, explaining the EXP model. So realtors no longer have to explain the features and benefits of EXP, because that's hard to do. I mean, it takes me 40 minutes to explain the model. So where realtors just have to be good at simply inviting somebody who's open-minded to learn more. And then we do 2 Q&As a week. So we have 10 hours of Zooms. We also have some of the best tools that I've seen in the industry. Things like the Attractify flowchart, the 5 features and benefits of EXP. We have the brokerage comparison calculator tool. I could go on and on and on, but we have a litany of tools that we provide to our realtors so they could absolutely illustrate to a prospect that they want to bring into their organization. They can illustrate for them what really makes EXP stand out and makes it so favorable. And then thirdly, it's a software platform that we created. It is all proprietary. We spent a tremendous amount of time, effort, and resources building this out. And it's powered by AI, Jeff. And it's to call it a CMA, or to call it a CRM would really be doing it a disservice. What it is a software platform that helps a realtor nurture and properly cement a relationship with the assistance of artificial intelligence, AI. So Chase, imagine picking up the phone, calling a prospect, and AI is listening to the conversation, taking notes for you so you could stay engaged, and then interpreting that conversation if that prospect is a hot, warm, or cold lead. If that prospect happens to give you an objection while you're conversing with them, your phone is going to act as a teleprompter and show you concisely how to respond to that prospect. And what's going to happen when someone is identified as a prospect? It's going to immediately send out what we call the 2-video email automation. Calendar is going to pop up so we could schedule what we call a rating call. And that person is immediately going to be part of a twice-a-month drip campaign that we use to strengthen or cement a relationship between the realtor and the prospect that they're trying to bring into their organization. So it really takes out the risk of what to do next. The system shows you precisely what to do next and helps you communicate at the absolute highest level possible. So you're always asking the right questions at the right time. And that's going to launch in about the next 4 to 5 months, but as a product that I am really, really excited about introducing to my fellow realtors at EXP. I think it's a game changer. It's a game changer for those people that are serious about building an organization, but there's a caveat, are also willing to put in the time.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Eric. I mean, obviously it's a huge benefit, right? That this agent attraction and introducing people to the EXP model for somebody who is coming in, just starting out, maybe just getting their license and hanging it at EXP, or if you were starting out brand new as an agent, how much time would you be devoting to this every single week versus working on getting your real estate business up and going?
So it's a great question, Jason. Something I get asked pretty often, something I get asked about pretty often. So I don't think it has to be a one or other proposition. I think the two could happen simultaneously. First of all, if you're a new agent, EXP is the best coaching platform in the country with a program called Fast Cap. Fast Cap is basically a coaching platform that is annihilating the other coaching platforms in the industry. It's a course, when you look at the metrics of appointments that are being made and transactions done, it is literally blowing away the competition, Chase. So I would absolutely have a new realtor focused on production. Because let's be honest, the reason that most of us get our real estate license is to enjoy selling real estate and working with buyers and sellers. So I would absolutely keep that person focused on production. But I also believe when you are producing, when you're selling real estate, you're conversing with another agent. You're either listening to an offer or making an offer. So a conversation exists. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So if you and I were doing a transaction together, at the end of that transaction, we've gotten to know each other for 30 to 60 days. I'm going to say to you, Chase, really enjoyed doing this transaction together. You came off as a really good guy and displayed a high level of professionalism. I hope that you'll take what I'm about to say as a compliment. And I would simply ask you, Chase, if you'd be open-minded to exploring a brokerage platform that may allow you to keep more of your hard-earned commissions. And maybe, Chase, aligns with the long-term direction you'd like to take your real estate business by offering you multiple other streams of income, one of which happens to be passive. Is that something you might find interesting? And would you be simply open-minded to exploring that with me?
Man, I'm sure glad we're recording this, Eric, because I'm going to replay that last 30 seconds over and over again until I get it down, man.
Well, the person who does that as well as anybody at EXP is Jeff Sutherlin. I mean, he is. Jeff does a monster job on the phone with that. So it's amazing. Yeah. But I will say, because it's a great segue into talking about how do you build an organization. And my whole focus is building my database. The size and strength, and I don't care if it's production, Jeff, or agent attraction, the size and strength, Chase, of your database will predicate the size and strength of your organization or your real estate business, your real estate, if you're producing your real estate business. So I'm very focused, first and foremost, of putting people into my database that warrant being in there. And there are three bogeys. Jeff said, Eric, we're not going to have to ask you a lot of questions. You'll just go on and on. So there are three bogeys that somebody has to earn in order for them to go into my database. They have to indicate that they're open-minded. They have to commit to watching 2 videos that I'm going to send out to them and agree to have a follow-up call with me. This is how I built my business. I today have the mindset that I have 0 people in my organization. 0. I am starting over from ground zero. And I get on my work treadmill. And that means I don't get up for water. Water is right here for me. In the same way that when I'm on a treadmill, exercising my body, I don't get on the treadmill, start walking, and then get off the treadmill to go to Dunkin' Donuts and get back on the treadmill. That doesn't make sense. I'm locked in. I do the same thing with my work. I don't get off the work treadmill for 90 minutes. 90 minutes I stay locked in where I'm reaching out to people. And my goal is to put 3 people into my database that warrant being there. I am going to guard the integrity of that database. I am not going to let that database get convoluted. So if I put 3 people in a day, Chase, at the end of a week, if I work 5 days a week, I have 15. At the end of a month, I have 60 people in my database. At the end of a year, I have 720 people in my database. And I'm on my way to having a huge passive and residual income. That's how I build my business.
Yeah, and this, sorry, Jeff, that goes right back to like we kind of said earlier, right? You thinking that every single day, hey, I'm starting from ground zero. I got to get this thing up and running right now, right? If you have 700 after a year, 700 and 700 people in your database, and you start getting comfortable, you don't do the full 90 minutes, but when you're going into it every single day, hey, my back's up against the wall. We're getting after it every day. I have to be here to make this happen, right? It's a different mindset.
And if you convert, Chase, check this out. If you convert 10% of those 720 people, 90% fall to the wayside. If you just convert 10%, that's 72 people. Now, I'm sure we're all focused on bringing in what we call capping agents. We know first year when you bring in a capping agent, you're going to earn $4,000 per person. What is 72 times 4,000? It's almost $300,000 before any of those people, any of those 72 people, bring in anybody else into their organization. Why would an agent not embrace this model? Why would the majority of agents not embrace this model? Because
I can tell you why.
Than not, their egos get in the way.
Yep, that's it. The ego is the number one reason, because they're afraid to be rejected. They don't want to speak to their peers. It's crazy how people are so afraid. But, it takes some reps. It takes practice, I think, just like everything else. You mentioned those 3 bogeys. Man, that is legit, because let's face it, not everybody is worthy. You said, do they warrant being in your database? That's a key word, right? Not everybody is worthy of being in your database. Yeah. It's like you're asking 3 simple questions. Are you open-minded? Can you watch a couple videos? And are you willing to give some feedback? Yes or no? Right? If they say no, go to the next person, right? If somebody's not willing to do those 3 things, then, sorry, but I don't want to chase people. I know you certainly don't, Eric. I don't like chasing people. They should be coming to us, because the opportunity is the best that we've ever seen in this business. So I love your approach. In fact, you've made me even more crisp when I talk to people. I'm very relational. That's how I speak to people, but you've made me very crisp. So I kind of like to take the best of several people that I listen to. And that's how I've developed that skill. I just didn't pick up the phone one day and start, becoming who I am. I had to listen. I had to practice. I had to have people critique me, how I speak to people. But to me, I just love your approach. It's very direct, and it's yes or no. And then if they're open-minded, let's move forward and see if it's a good thing. It may or may not be a good thing, and you're not attached to the outcome. Yeah,
I'm not. Again, you're so good at this, Jeff. You are as talented as anybody at EXP in terms of being able to share the platform and really do it from your heart. And I think that's what it's about, is that you and I come at it from the same mindset. This is why I love you. It's never about the money or how much money I'm going to make off somebody. It's really being a servant leader. I do believe, Chase, in my heart of hearts, that EXP is spectacular. I don't think we have any competition. I know in my heart that an agent is much better having multiple streams of income than one. I know having a cap and revenue share and ownership in the brokerage are things that are, I feel like I'm a servant leader when I go out there each and every day and simply invite somebody to compare and contrast what they're getting from their existing brokerage partner versus what EXP has to offer. So they, like Jeff said, and they alone can determine if this platform best aligns with the ultimate direction that they want to take their real estate business.
I just wish I was in my 20s.
We're getting it done in our 50s and 60s, right? We are getting it done. We get to go out enjoying. We get to go out knowing from experience that this platform rocks. We've been doing this for a long time, Jeff.
Yeah.
And we're able to confidently look another human being in the eye and saying, hey, we got the keys to the kingdom here. Yep. I'd simply like to share this with you and see if it resonates.
I've done this now for 24 years. I've sold well over 1,000 houses. I know every single brokerage model on the planet, well, especially in the United States and Canada, and I know how we stack up, right? So now I can come from passion. I believe it with 100% of myself. The first thing is, when you're in sales, you have to be sold yourself, right? Or you're feeding a bunch of malarkey, and people can hear it, they can feel it, right? I believe in my whole heart this is the best thing ever. So that's why I bring so much passion to the table. And there's something that just, the company's just launching now, Eric. I'd like you to share a little bit about it. It's called co-sponsoring. I think it's going to give us another huge surge. Could you kind of explain, why we did that as a company, and what does that look like? It's going to be amazing.
very often, somebody is going to have somebody sponsor them that they've known, that where there's a relationship intact. But very often it may not be the best person. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I live in Miami, my former home, right? And I have somebody that I'm looking to bring on in Arizona, where my buddy Jeff Sutherlin happens to live. And I know that I can't give that same level of support because we know a lot of agents, although we are cloud-based, a lot of agents want that contact in a local area. You meet for a drink, go out for coffee, break bread together. There are regional rallies. It now allows me to leverage off of having a co-sponsor. So instead of just having one sponsor, the company's brought on what we call co-sponsoring. So somebody coming into the organization now can select two people as their sponsor. One is a primary and the other is a co-sponsor. So it allows me to reach out to somebody like a Jeff Sutherland. And I know when I hand Jeff off to an agent and I hand Jeff off to a prospect that I'm working with, I know that that person is going to receive the highest level of care, that Jeff is going to bend over backwards to ensure that that prospect is trained properly and will ramp up their level of production. And if they want to engage in revenue share, that Jeff will lay out for them a red carpet and help them in the highest manner possible. And at the same time as the primary sponsor, 3,000 miles away in Miami, I get to get paid. I get the sponsoring benefit. My income really is not affected. The question is, why wouldn't I bring in a co-sponsor if I'm not in a local area? Why wouldn't I do something that best serves or best benefits the person whom I'm interacting with?
It's so powerful. I mean, it's if I've had anything that's been a little challenging over the last 7 years here is sponsoring people outside of the state. And now I feel like I just have such a great solution because I've networked with so many people across the country. And within EXP, there are tremendous leaders in production and in growth. So I can't wait. I can't wait to just develop more relationships around the country and continue to grow the company and grow each other's business. It's going to be amazing.
Can I give you a plug?
Please. Yeah.
So, as often as I can, I don't do any one-on-one coach anymore. I'm busy with my organization, and then the build out or the launch of Attractify is happening soon. So Jeff knows I've handed off multiple coaching clients to them. For anybody who's listening to today's podcast, Jeff Sutherland is an incredible person to work with. He's somebody that is heartfelt. He's somebody who's kind. He's somebody who goes about sponsoring the right way. Not only is he a great individual, he's a great sponsor and treats people with love and respect. So, you are the epitome of why somebody would want to co-sponsor, whether you are in the, whether they're in the Phoenix or Arizona market or the entire West Coast. Because when somebody hands you off as a co-sponsor, they know that you're going to go out of your way with both time and effort to ensure that that person has the success that they're looking for.
Thanks, Eric. That means a lot to me. It really does.
I believe that with all my heart. I do.
Thank you. I mean, when somebody joins a company, there's a lot at stake. It's their family, right? So if they're willing to, join arms with me, I'll do just about anything to make sure, they're successful. And it means so much. Like Chase is a perfect example. I mean, Chase has tremendous work ethic. The guy is absolutely amazing. And when he came into my life, I was like, there's no way I'm not going to allow this person to go anywhere else. Cause he was he's looking at a couple other options. So I took him to lunch. We had like a 2-hour lunch, and Chase goes to my church. And I sat there and I was like, this is going to be the most passionate, emboldened conversation I've had in a long time. Cause I knew what he was going to do. Chase, just to let you know, first year in the business, sold like 14, 15 houses. And this guy, that's amazing in 2024 to do such a thing. And every single day, I call him early in the morning. I can call him at 6:30 in the morning. He's already up. He's like, yeah, Jeff, I just got done doing my devotions and it's a good day to serve the Lord. And I just can't wait to get out there and crush it today and change lives. I'm like, those are the kind of people I love, man. It's just like, it's all about your inner circle. It's all about the people you hang around, right? He helps make me better. He teaches me things, and he's 25 years younger than I am. And hopefully I teach him a few things. So I just love this business. I've never gotten tired of this business. You think after a quarter of a century, I'd be like tired of it. I'm not.
You're glutton for punishment is what you are. Those are huge accolades that Jeff laid on you. That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear.
Well, and I appreciate that. And Jeff's too kind, but I was going to go try to jump in there, but I can attest to that, man. Just having Jeff as a mentor that's taking me under his wing. He has the biggest heart, man. And I mean, you know it, everybody, who listens, I'm sure can feel it, and we go on appointments together, and it's funny that you could tell the people that he's talking to, they have a level of comfort with Jeff, you know what I mean? And I try to pick up on that and learn from that, because that is a gift, to be able to show people, hey, we care about you. We're here to do the very best that we can for you. And he does that.
Yeah, he does, Chase. No doubt about it.
Well, I'm very humble. Thank you, guys. I mean, I think, when we talk about coaching, one thing I think it's important when you coach people, I'd love to get your take on this, Eric, but when you're coaching people, you can tell them what to do, but that doesn't work. You have to tell them, then demonstrate it, and then have them demonstrate it. Right. So if you don't do it that way, and if you just tell people to do things and expect them to do it, you won't be successful. You have to be able to show it and have them show you and then give feedback. It's a process, right? So when I take on a new recruit, to me, this is a project. I mean, especially if they're brand new. I know that if they're going to be successful, this is at least a year project. And so that's why I'm very selective on who I take for a brand new agent, because they have to have a certain behavioral profile. They have to be highly motivated. I won't do it unless they meet these standards. So I'm pretty selective. And, I think that's the way to coach people.
Yeah, I do too. It's really important to come from a place of illustrating, right? Letting them see you taking action. I mean, one of the reasons that I spend 90 minutes a day on what I call my work treadmill is I believe you lead by example. I want people to come on the calls. I want people to see me prospecting. I want to constantly hone my skill set, but you lead by example, not through your words, but through your actions. And, again, Jeff, our mindset is very much aligned to what you just said. Very much aligned. You could lead a horse to water, but you can't make that horse drink. And you have to show somebody, you have to illustrate for them, how do you approach another human being with a high level of comfortability and confidence? Because if you are not comfortable, if you are not confident, the chances of bringing somebody into your organization is almost nil to none. Would you agree with that, Jeff? You have to be able to come from a position of strength and lead with comfortability and confidence.
Yeah, you have to bring every day. I believe in the law of the lid by John Maxwell. And I don't know if you've ever read any John Maxwell, Eric. But John Maxwell is one of the best authors out there, and he talks about the law of the lid. And essentially, the law of the lid means that if I'm the leader of an organization, I can't expect the organization to grow any faster than what I am growing. So when I look at my organization, if I feel like there's any problem within my organization, I first look at me. Because if you finally get to the point in your life where you're not a victim and you actually own everything and you realize, gosh, it's up to me. If it's going to be, it's up to me. That's freedom. That's absolute freedom, because then I can actually do something about it. And you're not looking around the world why you're blaming everybody else for your problems. And I've seen people like that their whole lives. They just go through life as a victim. It's always somebody else's fault. It's like, I am at where I'm at today because of all the decisions I've made, good or bad. Right. So once you get to that point in life, that's freedom.
Yeah, it is. It is. George Bernard Shaw, had said over and over again that, people walk around life saying, if only my circumstances were different, instead of, hey, control your circumstances. And if you're not happy with the circumstances that you have, then identify new circumstances, but don't come at life from being a victim. Come at it from being a winner and lead by example.
You and I have one other thing in common, Eric. We got a lot in common, but you were talking about how you hit such hard times and you needed to restore your self-worth. I went through the same thing too. I owned a pretty large brokerage and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to be. And I basically, once I was no longer affiliated with that brokerage, the next day I was sitting on my kitchen table and I spent years and years building this company, and nobody was there anymore. And I really was questioning my identity. And unfortunately, I put my identity into that company, which is not a good thing to do. right? My identity is not any one company. It's not even EXP. It's, much deeper than that. But one of my coaches that I worked with, it was a gut punch one day. He said, "Do you feel like you're a fading winner?" Man, that hit me hard because that's how I felt. A mutual friend of ours named Randy. And I said, yeah, that's how I felt. And that day I literally had tears in my eyes and I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a fading winner. I still have a lot left to give. I'm still fairly young and I need to turn it around. It's so easy in life to get in these ruts where you're just like your self-worth, it goes so low and you just keep getting, kicked in the head, and some's got to turn it around. And sometimes I think it takes somebody else to come into your world and just speak truth and life to you,
But you have to be ready also. You have to be ready, willing, and able to accept that feedback and do something about it. I don't care how much somebody wants it. I believe, and I'm sure you've read Jeff, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Three elements make somebody successful. Three basic elements. One is a burning desire. Absolutely burning desire that you are willing to walk on water if you have to in order to get what you desire. You're willing to do anything. Number two is manifesting. You have to have faith. You have to believe it's going to happen with all of your heart. Remove that self-doubt so you could properly move forward. And three, you need to have a system. You need to have a game plan. And if you have those three things, there's a very high likelihood that you're going to have the success that you're looking to have. That's something I really, really embrace. Those three things always come into play. Do I have a burning desire? No matter what, even with Attractify or buying houses now, it's just, do I have a burning desire? Am I willing to get after it and do what I have to do, Chase? Two, do I have the belief it's going to happen? Is what I think about is going to manifest. Do I believe it wholeheartedly? And do I have a plan that I can execute on? And for me, it's really simple. My plan when I was building out my business at EXP, there are 5 basic tools with EXP. I call it the 5 features and benefits of EXP. And I always relied on that, being well prepared and understanding what those 5 benefits are. And I come back to that over and over and over again. But there are 4 or 5 main tools that I've implemented in my business to absolutely ensure that I was going to have success and take away any question mark whether success was going to happen or not by being really locked in on these 4 or 5 different tools.
See, and that's where you've given me a lot of value, honestly, Eric, is you're so succinct in making it so simple, right? That it's duplicatable and scalable. So I've used these words you've taught us. It's phenomenal. And it's helped me talk to people, and it just makes it so easy to communicate. So I just want to say thank you to you because you've made it so much, it's just clear the way that you state things. So thank you.
Jeff, to your credit, you implement. I mean, you and I are in calls with these people all day long, right? And they overcomplicate this. They want to take a simple and easy process and just, throw it in the mixer and make it much more complicated. They don't need to do that. They don't need to do that at all. It's really simple. Understand how to approach somebody in what we call the open-minded script. How do you approach somebody with a high level of comfortability and confidence? So that one tool, we call that the open-minded script. Second is your second call. It's the rating call, identifying someone's level of interest to coming aboard with EXP. Are they hot? Are they warm? Are they cold? Do they have no interest at all? It's okay, but we want to understand who our prospect is. Knowing that when you're in a conversation, Jeff, you're going to hear one of 8 objections over and over and over. Common sense would dictate, Jeff, that one takes the time to internalize how to confidently and comfortably respond to somebody in the form of questions instead of looking at them like a deer in the headlights. And then knowing the 5 features and benefits of EXP. If you take those 4 simple steps, you can't not but be successful. And of course, know the Attractify flow chart, the different components of the selling cycle, so you can understand how to appropriately bring somebody into your organization. But it's not brain surgery to me. I was following a roadmap. I was following a script. I couldn't fail if I followed it.
And I really like that, how you talk about 4 or 5 different things, right? And I feel like it's really similar to anything, but I kind of relate it to working on trying to build your real estate business. If you have a couple of these things that you do well, and you lean into those things and you are consistent, right? I think consistency is huge. You do it every single day. You talk about 90 minutes every single day. If you know you're doing the right stuff and you stick to that plan, it's only a matter of time, right? This stuff, when you're on it every single day, you keep scratching at something. It's only a matter of time before the results start showing themselves, right?
Chase, you're going to be hugely successful because that is it in a snapshot. I mean, you articulated that as beautifully as possible. I mean, it is about being commitment. It is executing over and over, doing the same thing, being habitual, being consistent, and not losing focus. And it's when we take our eye off the ball or look for an easier way to get it done, we're laying out a blueprint for you. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road, and it will take you to a pot of gold. You don't need to reinvent. I mean, success leaves clues. Look at how Gene Frederick, Brent Gove, Elizabeth Riley, Cliff Freeman, I can go on and on and on. 99.9999% of the alphas, the biggest groups at EXP, were built by people reaching out to other individuals and asking them the appropriate questions to see if they were open-minded. They may not be using the word open-minded as I am, but they were all adept. They were all very skilled at asking the right questions so they could properly be of service to another human being. They could be a servant leader.
So friends, today we've had Eric Orland on the show, 2,800 people in his organization, nearing 3,000, one of the top leaders at EXP. And today you got to hear his heart. You get to hear his mind. He's a great leader. And Eric, I want to give you the last word. Anything else you want to share with our audience, which is growing very quickly by the day? Anything else? I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I think that there's opportunities in life. And be careful never to squander those opportunities, because I think one of the worst way to live life is every year comes to an end, is to look back over your shoulder and ask yourself the three ugliest questions possible. Could I have, should I have, or would I have done it differently? Folks, live in the moment. You have the opportunity to build generational wealth that not only provides you an added layer of security today, but something that you can take into your retirement and you're ready, ultimately hand off to your heirs. You can build an organization in which you have no legal liability, you have no capital outlay, right? No legal liability, no capital outlay, and no managerial responsibilities. You get the opportunity to do something marvelous. And the difference between being ordinary and being extraordinary is simply doing something a little extra. If you are willing to invest into you, if you are willing to pour into yourself just a little extra, it may provide you an opportunity that will yield you a level of satisfaction and financial benefits for you and your family that most agents never, ever dream possible. You are absolutely worthy of the success that you want, that you need. And this is the hard one, that you really deserve, but you got to believe you deserve it, man. You got to believe that you deserve it. And I know there were times in my life I didn't feel like I deserved it. When you can't lean into yourself, lean into somebody you love, because you are worthy. And not only do you need to be you, but whoever you love needs you as well. Be the best version of yourself.
Brother, that was powerful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I get the privilege of being around older adults sometimes before they pass, because I'm a bivocational part-time pastor. So I get to see people in their last days, and it's a blessing, to talk to them. And oftentimes they say that one of their biggest regrets was that they didn't take enough risks. And they look back at their life. The funny thing is this whole EXP platform, it's really not a risk, but it's really what Eric said, stepping out and saying, I deserve this. This is going to be a great thing for me. I need it. I deserve it. I can do this. And we're here to help you. All three of us are here to help you. So, Eric, how can people get a hold of you? You're in Florida, right?
I'm in Puerto Rico. I go kind of back and forth between Puerto Rico and Florida. But,
okay.
I'm old school. If you need to get a hold of me, I'd love to talk, share the platform. If you have any questions about Attractify or just want some friendly advice on how to scale your business, I love learning from others and sharing whatever minimal amounts of information I have to share. But my phone number is 415-595-9000, 415-595-9000. And my email address is eric@ericorland.com. And that's my first name at my first and last name.com. Or always through Attractify. And if you haven't seen Attractify and you're interested in truly building an organization, please just take the time to look at this. I promise it's going to wow you. Simply go to Attractify, ATTRACTIFY.ai. It's absolutely incredible. And if we never, ever, ever have a customer, I will go down thinking I'm so proud of what we've built. Jeff, I appreciate you and I appreciate Chase, both of you so much. I really enjoyed. I was looking forward to this, and I love the time that we share together because of who you are.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. So we just appreciate you, and on behalf of Chase and myself, we give you thanks, and we give thanks to our audience. And if you'd like to tune into more podcasts like this, definitely connect with us. Follow us on the Jeff Sutherlin Show on YouTube. And we're here. We're your Phoenix real estate team, and we're getting it done. And we care about your experience. So whether you're a buyer, a seller, investor, another agent, we want to make sure you get a 10 experience, and we'll give you everything we have. So we're just thankful for your time today. And with that being said, have an awesome, awesome week, guys. Take care.
Thanks again, guys.